Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jai Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jam Vishnupad Brahmans Parivraj Gacharya Sta Darshat His Divine Grace Abhay Charnar Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya BBT founder Acharya saved the whole world Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Hare Krishna. So today we are celebrating Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj's appearance day. So we'll just speak something from his life and his teachings. So before we start, we just offer our humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj. Seek his blessings, seek the blessings of Srila Prabhupada. Our humble attempt to speak and for our own purification. We'll just talk about his life. So before we talk about, we have to go in the history that as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Whenever there is a decline in the religious principle, Krishna appears in this material world. So Krishna came 5,000 years back, and then again there was a decline in the religious principles, and then 500 years back Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established all the principles of bhakti, devotional service. And after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disappeared, his close associates, 6 Goswamis, they took up the mission. And they wrote a lot of literature explaining the principles of pure devotional service. And then after 6 Goswamis, the famous trio, they came. Anybody remembers who were the 3 people? Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamanand Pandit, and Srinivasa Acharya. So that was the first ever book distribution Sankirtan party. So they were doing a lot of book distribution. And you can just imagine in those days there was no printing press. How you get the book in the first place to distribute? They'll make the copies, handwritten, and distribute. Like that. And after them, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan and those acharyas came in the line. But after that time, there was a dark age in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Suddenly, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sakalena Mata Yoga Nasta Parantaba. With the passage of time, everything started deteriorating. So this was the time when all the principles which has been established by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis, everything started deteriorating. And all kinds of deviant sects, they started emerging out. People started concocting their own philosophy, and all kinds of Apasampradaya They just came into the picture. And all of that was going on, and then there was a time when this Gaudiya Vaishnavas has been seen as just to stay away from these people. That became their reputation. Because there's so much of deviation, so much of delusion on the philosophy, Sahajias and all kinds of people. So that was the dark age, and that is when the Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he appeared, and then by seeing, his heart, broke, like what will happen? The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and then his teachings and his mission is gone. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as we know that he was also another great scholar and very, very reputed person. That time he was the district magistrate. So he started speaking in English and started writing a lot of books, and he was trying to again establish the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he felt that everything he was doing by his all alone. So he felt that that's not enough. I need some help. So he prayed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, prayed to Jagannathji that, please send me some help. I need the ray of Vishnu. And when his prayers were accepted, granted, and then came Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj as the Prasad of Bimla Devi, because he was just praying to Jagannathji and Bimla Devi. So he accepted Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj as his son as the Prasad of Bimla Devi. So he named him as Bimal Prasad. So Bimal Prasad came. He appeared on February 6th, 1876. Today is what? Number date is 6 February only, right? It's such a coincidence that the same day, it was February 6, 1876, he appeared. And from the very beginning, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, he showed very extraordinary signs. Like it is said, when he was born, that umbilical cord was wrapped around his body like a Brahman thread. That was another sign that this boy is going to be a very, very extraordinary personality in the future. And then when he was just 6 months old, there was Jagannath Rath Yatra, and then that cart was going, and it stopped in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. And it stopped for 3 days, which is a very unusual thing. It will stop sometime, but not like 3 days. Stopping, and despite all the attempts to pull, push, it was not moving. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur told the wife that, Jagannath cart is standing just right outside our house. So we should take the advantage. We should take the child and have darshan. And then they came with the small 6 months old child, Bimal Prasad. And they went on the cart, had darshan. And, the Bhagavati Devi, the mother of Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj, she kept the child at the feet of Jagannathji, like, this is your, this thing. He's at your lotus feet. So right then, that one garland fell from the Jagannathji. So that is another sign that the child is going to be very, very extraordinary. Right. Many, many things, but one of the famous incident from his childhood, when he was just 2-3 years old, very, very small child, and then he desired to eat the mango which was not even offered to the Lord. So he was kind of pushing, no, I want to eat mango. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the father, he told, no, that you should not eat without offering it to the Lord. It's an offense if you eat something like that. So he felt so bad that I am such an offender to the Supreme Lord, and I take the vow that never ever in my life I never even touch the mango. Just imagine that 2-3 years old, they won't even understand like what is offense and something. He took the vow. That shows his determination that he never touched the mango in his life, because then I am an offender. And in the future, when he was a sannyasi, many of the disciples, they will bring the mangoes to offer, and he will say, no, I cannot take the mangoes, I am an offender to the Lord. So like that. And then in a very early age, when he was just 7-year-old, he mastered many things: mathematics, astronomy, astrology. He became very, very erudite scholar about all these subjects. And the principal of the school, he came and he gave him the title as Saraswati. Says, you are like Sakshat, goddess of learning. How a 7-year-old, he knows and expertly explain the things. He memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita, not only just mug up, but he could explain each and every verse very expertly. And even the great scholars, they will be amazed by listening his commentaries and his explanation. like that. And he was very, very sharp. And when he will go to school, in those days, like 7-year-old and 8-year-old, he'll go with one of his book, his favorite book. And what was his book? It was Narottam Das Thakur's Prathna, that the songs that we sing, many of the songs we sing is from the Narottam Das Thakur's Prathna. So while teacher is teaching, he'll be sitting and keep reading that Prathna book. So teacher get little, disappointed, upset. He say, hey, what is this? You are not focused in the class. I'm teaching you something important. And sometime in that agitation, the teacher, okay, get up and tell me the answer of something. So they thought now we'll punish him. And then he was so expert that he will very expertly answer all the questions of the teacher. And he will additionally also answer, if you ask me this question, then this can be the probable answer, like that. And the teacher was amazed to see that how somebody can be like so sharp. I thought he is so distracted, but he is very, very focused. So that was his level of intelligence and sharpness, his absorption and something learning, like that. And then he started helping his own father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing a lot of books. So then for the book, there has to be the proofreading. So as a small child, just 9 or 10-year-old child, he used to do the proofreading for Bhaktivinoda Thakur's work, and like that. And he, sometime when he explained the verses and all that, it was for a great scholars about like jaw dropping, like how a small child can give this kind of commentary and explanation. So like that it was going on. And at the age of 26, he felt a strong urge, a strong need to accept a spiritual master. He goes to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and he says that, please guide me, please help me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur guided him that go to Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Now, this is such a contradiction that we know that Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj, he was a great renunciant. He couldn't even read and write, materially speaking. He was like transcendentally eccentric personality. Many people will call him like a madman. He will do all kinds of things, jumping, dancing, like that. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent him, who? Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, who was a great scholar of his time. So he goes to a person who is materially speaking illiterate. He couldn't even read and write. And that is why we say that, Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj, he made a comment that, though I cannot read and write, but my signature is Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj. Best signature. So he goes to him and on the under the guidance of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then he requested Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj that please accept me as your disciple. But Gaurkishore Babaji, he never accepted anyone as disciple, and then he said, I want to directly say no also. Come later next week, I'll check with the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he come in my dream. So he just waited for a week and then he came back. Then what happened? He said, oh yeah, actually I forgot to ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you come next week. So like that, he did multiple times, he was delaying. And at one point, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, he understood that he just kind of ignoring me, avoiding me. So when they were talking, it was on a small bridge on the Ganga. He was talking. And at that moment, he showed another determination. He says, I know that you don't want to accept me as your disciple. But if you don't accept me as your disciple, then what is the use of this life? I'll right away jump into the river and give up my life. So then Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj, he saw that, oh, this boy, he is so determined. Then he accepted one and the only disciple is Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj. He accepted him as his disciple and initiated him and then gave him the name. From Bimal Prasad, he became Barshvanavi Devi Daitaya Das. That is the servant of Barshvanavi Devi Daita, Radharani, the servant of Radharani. And then he just blessed him by touching his lotus feet on his head. And then he gave him the instruction, now go and boldly preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj took a vow after the initiation, vow of chanting 1 billion names of Krishna. So it was in 1905, he decided that he took the vow that I should chant. So he sat in the Navadip, in the Mayapur, close to the place, which is like current Chaitanya Mutt. In those days, it was famous as Brij Patna. So there he was sitting and he was chanting, holding umbrella in one hand and another hand chanting bead, small hut, chanting. Sometimes the hut was leaking. He will not have the time to even go and fix it in the rainy season. So he'll just hold one umbrella and go on chanting. Every day, 192 rounds he chanted, almost like 10 years, close to like 1905 to 1914. And during that time, he observed very severe austerities. He will hardly eat anything. He will eat just very little rice and some kind of a khichdi without any spices, without any salt. And how he would eat, if some of you visited Mayapur and that, I think not Chaitanya Mutt, but the other one, that displays there, there's one stone slab is there. So how he would eat is just put the little rice, which is not even spiced and even salted, put on the stone slab, and he will put his hands at the back like this. He'll not even touch the hands, and he will eat like this, like a dog, in that utter humility, thinking that I'm like a dog. And these are the kind of severe austerities. And 10 years, can you imagine that every day somebody is eating just little rice like this and just constantly chanting the holy name. So that is how he was absorbed, engaged in all of that. So during that time, one of the disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his name was Kunja Bihari Das, Kunjada, very famous. So he had the urge that he wanted to organize the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So he said, I'm looking for someone who can help me to organize the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So somebody suggested, then the best person can be Bhaktivinoda Thakur's son. He said, where he is? He says, go and find him. He's sitting somewhere in Mayapur and Navadip somewhere. So he came, he was searching that day, where is, one person very scholarly, and nobody knows about him. He was sitting somewhere. He says, we have not seen any scholarly person here, but we see one person who little looks like a mad person. We know just one person comes sometime here, so you can wait for him. Sometimes he come to the Ganges to take bath in the evening. So this Kunjada, he was waiting that, because nobody knew that where does he stays, where he's sitting. So he came in the evening. He saw that one tall man, 6 feet 2 inch, 6'2", very bright. He was coming, jumping, dancing in ecstasy like a madman, coming, Anitai Gaur, Haribol, shouting and jump into the river, taking bath, and again he was simply jumping and dancing like that. So this Kunjada, he says, he's the person that somebody suggested me. He doesn't look like he's the person who can organize. He looks like in too much ecstasy. I doubt whether he can organize, but let me at least try. So he goes and talks to him. He says, can you help me to organize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission? And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj says, what organization you're talking about? So see there, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, Nityananda Prabhu is there, Advaita Acharya is there. They're all doing kirtan, jumping, dancing. You also jump and dance. And again he ran away and jumping, dancing. And he just disappeared. He vanishes. So Kunjada was a little disappointed. He says, somebody, guided me to the wrong person. So all that went on. Then one day, when this Kunja Bihari Prabhu, he was in Calcutta in his house, there was somebody knocking the door. And then he opened the door. He saw a person, tall person, very bright, in saffron robes like a sannyasi. And then it was Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj who came back to him after many years, in around like 1915. And then he said that, you came to meet and you wanted to organize Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Do you still have the desire or it's gone? He said, no, I still have the desire. So then he says, okay, let us just work on this. And they sat together in just 1 or 2 days. They just work out all the details. And then he established this Gaudiya Mutt. And then he started leading this Gaudiya Mutt. Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj officially established the Gaudiya Mutt. And then around that time, it was June 22nd, 1914. Bhaktivinoda Thakur left his body. disappearance day of Bhaktivinoda Tagore in 1914. So it left Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj very, broken-hearted, because his father was a great Vaishnava and, all the time all the guidance was coming from him. So he felt like I'm lost in absence of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was feeling very intense separation. 1 year, he felt like I'm lost. He couldn't do anything. And then just after 1 year later, November 19, in 1915, another great personality, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he also left. And that left Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj completely lost. Says, there's no meaning of my life now. I don't have that association of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So this is a very important point that here Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj is teaching us. He was such a great scholar, sannyasi, renunciant and all of that. Very, very fixed up in devotional service, everything. But despite all of that, there is a phase in life where he felt like I'm lost completely. There's no hope. And of course, his lost is not because of some material reasons. He felt that I'm lost because of this intense separation from these great Vaishnavas. So then he started thinking that what is the hope? What is the solution? So when I was sitting, and then suddenly, mystically, there's a piece of paper came, that famous pastime. It came flying, one piece of paper. He picked that paper and there was a verse on that paper. And what was the verse? It was a famous verse from the conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatan Goswami. It is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antalila 4.80, wherein Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Sanatan Goswami that what he should be doing. So this verse says, Krishna Bhakti Krishna Prema Seva Pravartan Lupta Tirtha Uddhara Ara Vairagya Sikshan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that what Sanatan Goswami should be doing? Krishna Bhakti Krishna Prema Seva Pravartan. You should explain about Krishna Bhakti, Krishna's devotional service, and Krishna Seva, Krishna Prema, Seva Parvartan, establish centers for cultivation of love of Krishna. And then Lupta Tirtha Uddhara, Lupta Tirth, all the tirthas has gone, disappeared. So excavate lost places of pilgrimage, or Vairagya Sikshan, teach people how to adopt the renounced order. So when he received this, he thought, okay, there is a great hope. So the one thing that we should understand from this incident, that despite whatever our situation today, tomorrow we may feel lost or disappointed or no guidance or something. But our tradition is the tradition of that utter helplessness. So in that moment, he was just praying very intensely, and that through the prayer, he received that reciprocation in the form of that piece of paper and that verse. And then he decided, okay, this is what is the goal of my life. And after that, actually, I think he established the Gaudiya Math. He goes back. And that time, Gaur Kishore Babaji was not physically present. So he goes in front of his picture and he accepted the sannyasa through his picture. And then he goes to Kunjada in Calcutta, and then working with him, they established this Gaudiya Math. Now, this Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj was a very, very revolutionary preacher, and we can just understand that Prabhupada is coming from him. How revolutionary Prabhupada is, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj in those days, even more revolutionary. He will do everything which is conventionally not accepted by people. As a sannyasi, he will go in car, which was never ever in the history of humanity seen that any sannyasi is going in the car. Sannyasis would always walk and travel. This is how they travel. But he will go in the car. In those days, just imagine 1915 and 1920 and those days, car was a luxurious thing. Hardly very few government officials, very high ranked officials, they will have the car. In the entire country, there will be few car. And then another car is Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj. And he is very boldly, he is going in Vrindavan, driving car, and people will say, hey, what kind of sadhu he is? Look at the sannyasi, fake sannyasi. And like that. But he will not care, because he was very, very clear. All his basics, like everything was clear that why he was using, that was his strategy to preach. What he will do, he'll personally drive the car as a sannyasi. And then he goes village to village. And the village is when he goes in the car. In those days, to see the car itself is a big thing. A car was not a very common sight. So the whole village will gather there. Hey, what is this? Some car, something is there. And then one sannyasi will come out from the car. Everybody is just gathering, somebody touching, somebody saying, hey, what is this? Some kind of a magic. And there, when the whole village is gathered, he'll sit in the bonnet of the car. He'll give the pravachan there only. That is how he used to preach. Very dynamic. So he used to preach like that, use the car. He established the printing press, which was the beginning of that era. Printing press was not a common thing again. But he established in one of his temple the printing press. He said, this is our altar. He says, this is our worshipable deity, the printing press, because it is producing the literature for Krishna. Like that. And another dynamic thing that he used to do is, he will, as a sannyasi, he would dress himself sometime in suit, coat, pant and cap. You might have seen that famous picture. He's going in the car, sitting in the suit boot and all the cap. So people say, like, what kind of sannyasi he is? But that was his style. Because he used to meet all these people. It was a British rule still in those days. So he will go and talk to these people. So his philosophy was very, very simple and very clear. He says, I have such a pure message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna's message, which I want to give to the whole world. If my dress is a hindrance to communicate and convey this message, what is the point of putting this sannyasa dress? I'm okay to change my dress. So when he goes to meet all this, kings and all this Britishers and officials and like that, he will change to all this suit, boot and cap and go like that. So very, very revolutionary, right? Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj, when he took the initiation, he gave him 3 instructions. And we can understand that they say that famous, right? Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Bhujena Bhagay. That is very difficult to understand the great Vaishnavas. It seems like what they are doing is just opposite to what is said and given in the scriptures. But we have to understand from them only what they are doing. So Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj gave him the multiple instruction. One of the instruction was never accept disciples. But we know that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he has many, many disciples. And then another instruction he said that never associate with the karmis. But he was going and meeting all these kings and then all these great officials and everyone like that. And the third instruction was never go to Calcutta. It's a Maya Nagari. 3 instruction he gave. But you see, just opposite to all these 3, he has many, many disciples. He was going and meeting everyone, all karmis. And then the famous temple was in Calcutta. So how do you explain that? So it is very simple. He explained, actually he himself explained. He said, I never accepted anyone as disciple. I see them as my gurus. They are all sent by my Guru Maharaj to help me in my mission. So they are not my disciples. They are actually my gurus. So that was his mood, internal mood. And then he says, never associate with the karmis. So he says, I'm not associating with the karmis. Association means you start taking their values. But I'm not going and associating with them. I'm going and giving them the Krishna Katha. So I'm not associating. And another instruction was never go to Calcutta. It's a Maya Nagari. Says, no, we are not in the Maya Nagari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is being worshipped in this temple. It's Golok Vrindavan. So we are not in Maya Nagari. We are in Golok Vrindavan. So all this, concepts are so crystal clear. And that is the kind of philosophy that Krishna consciousness offers. It is not some kind of a superficial renunciation and some rituals like that. But the spirit we need to understand. Like that. Okay. So 29th March 1918, he took the sannyas from Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj, and then he started Gaudiya Math. And then first center in Gaudiya Math he established was in November of 1918, and that was in Ultadanga Junction, the famous place where our Prabhupada met him on the terrace, and he named that place as the Bhakti Vinod Asan. I visited in 2023. Now it has been renovated by ISKCON Calcutta. Very beautifully they renovated. They say it like Bhaktivinodasan. Still it is said that Bhaktivinodasan. Right. So then he started preaching. And then many people, all intellectuals started getting connected with him. So he accepted many disciples. One of his disciples, his name was Ananta Vasudev. Very sharp, very scholarly. And Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj used to call him that he is Ganesh. Why he used to call him Ganesh? See how he was when Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj will give the lectures. His lectures was very long, 3 hours, 4 hours like that. So in his lectures he will quote some verses that in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. He'll not quote the verse. He'll just say Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Now this Ananta Vasudev, he knows. He's actually taking the notes of his lecture. He will write the verse also. What is the verse? So he was such a scholar. He was walking encyclopedia, And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj was very, proud of him in that way, that he will call him Ganesh like that. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj, his style was whenever he will meet anyone, he will always say that Dasosmi. To anyone, not only just devotees, but anyone he will meet, he will say Dasosmi, that I am your servant. And he was, though he is famous as Simha Guru, very strong, but at the same time he was very affectionate to the devotees, especially to the brahmacharis. He will personally take care of the brahmacharis in his, in the Gaudiya Math. He will just make sure he'll ask that if they're getting the good prasadam, everybody's fed well. And sometimes when the brahmacharis are sleeping in the night, he will just take a round just to make sure that everybody's comfortably taking rest. And in those days, there are a lot of mosquitoes in India, even now also, maybe a little less. So he'll make sure that all the brahmacharis have that mosquito net, and if somebody is not with a mosquito net, he'll personally go and put one like that. So that shows his another side. Externally he looks like he's very strong and everybody is so scared of him, but internally he was very kind and affectionate and compassionate like that. So many people were attracted, and that famous pastime happens that Madan Mohan Malviya, he came to meet Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, and he wanted to ask. He said that, I'll inquire, I'll answer all your questions, but right now what I'm busy. So in the meantime, you can go and help my disciples. So one brahmachari was engaged in washing some pots. So he says, your Guru Maharaj said that I should help you. So now this brahmachari doesn't know who is this Madan Mohan Malvi. He's like some HNI, right? You treat them a little differently if you know. But he didn't know. He says, okay, help me wash the pots. So this person was also very humble, and then he just washed the pots, and then after a while he came back, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj asked him that, okay, now tell me what are your questions. He said, there's no questions, all my questions are answered. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj very often used to quote this famous verse, Sevon Mukhe Jivado Swameva Spurtiyada. So all the knowledge will be revealed in our heart if we are nicely and sincerely engaged in the devotional service. So this is another example of that, how the person Madan Mohan Malviya was engaged in the seva, and all his answers were questioned. One time, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, when he was giving a lecture, there was a slight earthquake. So everybody got scared. They thought, okay, what to do now? Shall we escape, run, or what to do in this situation? He was unaffected, and he says, this is the famous pastime. He says, if the entire world get flooded and you understand that you are about to die in that water of flood, then if you have to leave everything in that situation, just carry 3 books. Don't leave these 3 books. What are the 3 books? Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Says you leave the whole world, but don't leave these 3 books, and then try to float on the water. But if you feel like, oh, this is becoming too heavy to carry on your head and I have to drop one more book, then drop Bhagavad Gita. But if further you feel like, no, this is also too much to carry, then drop Bhagavatam. But never ever leave Chaitanya Charitamrita. If there is a situation that you have to drop Chaitanya Charitamrita, then better you die. what is the use of the life without Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? So his instruction to all his disciples was that all his disciples should read Chaitanya Bhagavat. How many times? 108 times. And additionally, Chaitanya Charitamrita also read 108 times. That was his love for Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he would urge everyone that should read minimum of 108 times. So like that. And he was very, very bold, very strong in his preaching. Whenever it is required to be bold, he will be bold. Whenever it is required to be soft, he will be soft. So one time, one of the donor of the Gaudiya Math, he used to donate every month 2 rupees in those days, which was considered a good donation. So this donor, he came, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj was giving the lecture. So he came a little late in the between the lecture, and then he just crossed everyone, and then he came in the front. He thought, I'm a special donor, and like that. So I have the right to go in front. So in between the class, when he was giving the lecture, he was very heavy on him. He said, just because you are giving me 2 rupees donation doesn't mean that you have purchased me. You came late, better you sit at the back side. So this person got up and then go to the back. So sometime he was very, very heavy, very strong. One time he was giving the lecture in the temple, and then one visitor came to darshan. So now the lecture is going on. This person came, he went all the way, and he had the darshan. And nicely had the darshan, and he left. And after they left, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj told all these people, he says, a nice massage to the eyes. It's just a eyes massage. Came to the temple, saw without even hearing whom is seeing. If somebody is not hearing Krishna Katha, simply just coming and seeing, what they will see? They cannot see. Or seeing is through hearing. If they don't hear about Krishna, they cannot see Krishna. So his concepts were like so crystal clear. You cannot be just ritualistically go and see something. He called it as eye massage. And it's a very strong statement, like somebody say, oh, what is this you are saying? But that is how he was. Very, very strong, very bold. And one person, one time, they arranged a feast. Nice feast was going on. They made rasgulla. So one person was sitting in the feast, and he was eating rasgulla one after another. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj was watching him. What he is doing? He is eating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then he asked him, are you eating rasgulla or rasgulla is eating you? And then he explained that the whole idea of Krishna Prasadam is, it is Krishna's mercy. It is not for our enjoyment. It is for Krishna's enjoyment. So you should eat the Prasadam also in that consciousness, that it is my seva. You should not be eating the Prasad also as a sense gratification. So like that, for everything, he has very strong explanation, and people will remember forever in their life once you listen this kind of, strong this thing. And he was very, very clear that how the preaching should happen. No devious means were ever accepted. So one of his disciples, he thought, okay, let us just figure out some ways of collecting good donation. So this disciple, he was cultivating one income tax officer. So he thought, okay, one innovative idea. Idea was, goes to the market in the that officer's car, that government official with all that. So he goes in the market with the income tax officer's car. He just landed him. Okay, you can use my car for a few hours. He goes there, and everybody was like alerted in the market. Oh, why this income tax officer's car is here? And everybody was, just watching who is coming. And this devotee comes out, and he goes, give me some donation. Everybody like, take extra. They were a little extra cautious that income tax car is coming here. So he collected a lot of donation, and he thought, oh wow, this is a wonderful idea. That Guru Maharaj will be very, very happy and pleased. He will appreciate my innovation. And he goes and he collected, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj asked him that, how come you collected so much? And he just explained the idea. And he was very, very upset. He was so upset that he fasted that day. He says, I cannot eat this. This is not the means to, we should be very, very sincere and genuine. We should not try to adopt all these devious means to collect the donations. Like that, we should be very, very clean and transparent in our dealings. and like that. One time, later, when this Gaudiya Math was expanding, so somebody gave them the house. It was seeming like a haunted house. Nobody was even willing. They had to give to these people donation. This is how people want to give donation. Something is useless, you take donation. So somebody gave him the house, which was haunted house. Nobody was even willing to go. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj says, okay, let us go there. So he, with one of his disciples, they went and they're staying there. He was writing something, and this disciple was also engaged. And suddenly he saw in the window there was a hand was coming slowly. So this disciple, he got scared because he already know that it's a haunted house. One hand is also coming, and he got scared and he shouted and he fainted. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj said, "What happened?" And then he just helped him, put some water and all that. He came. He said, "What happened?" He said, "No, I saw the hand. At least that whatever the ghost is there, he would have got liberated, and you'll also get liberated by chanting Krishna's name." What is this shouting? He might have shouted, "Oh, mummy, papa," something like that. So he was very upset that, hey, this is not the way you should be shouting. So you should always shout Krishna's name. He says, okay. And then they're sitting again. He saw that hand again. And this time he shouted Krishna, but he again fainted. He was so scared. He fainted again. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj said, this is too much. I had to handle. And then actually, third time when, he saw the hand, this time Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj was very alert. And then he shouted Krishna's name. And this ghost never appeared again. Seems like he got liberated. So this is the power of, just chanting one holy name of the Lord. It can just deliver and liberate someone like that. And another occasion, one of the disciple, the Prabhupada's god brother, O.B.L. Kapoor, I forgot his initiated name. So one time, he was initiated in 1932 from Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, and very, very sincere, senior. So he thought, okay, let me ask a question to Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj. He felt like, maybe I am a little advanced. I don't know on what stage of bhakti I am. So let me just ask Guru Maharaj. So he asked Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, that Guru Maharaj, can you tell me that on what stage of bhakti I am? Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj very simply answered. He says, you are on a very neophyte state. So he sensed that, he's feeling a little proud about his something. But he says that should be the mood of a devotee. No matter that how much and what you know, you should always think that we are all neophytes. And actually we are neophytes. So that is the mood that one should carry. He was very strong about that all the brahmacharis should go out and preach. The brahmachari doesn't go out for preaching. He will call them the Matmedi. He picked the word from Grahamedi in the Bhagavatam. Says you guys are like Matmedi. You're sitting here simply just, eating prachadam and not preaching. So he was very, very strong. Sometime on the days of Ekadashi, some of the disciples, no, today Guru Maharaj, we are fasting today. So better, we'll stay back and save some energy and like that. He says, what is the point of such a fasting? Better you eat and go out. And you eat nicely and go out. And then some of them say, no, but Guru Maharaj, unless we eat the rice, we don't get the energy. So there are incidents where he allowed some of those disciples to eat rice on the day of Ekadashi. Say, eat and go out. Don't be just keep lazing around here. So like that, he was very, very strong and devotee. That was his mood of preaching. We'll talk about that, some of the famous quotes and like that, And about the seva, his mood was, there was one one devotee, he was singing, he was a good singer. He was singing the kirtan. And he has another brahmachari that play mridanga. Now this brahmachari was fully exhausted, tired, whole day preaching, and some Prabhuji asked, he's playing mridanga. He was literally falling asleep on the mridanga, playing, and he was like, now this singer was getting very irritated that I'm singing with all my rag and tal and all of that. This person is messing up my kirtan. So at one point he got so upset, he kind of snatched the mridanga from him, took away the mridanga and gave to another brahmachari, you play, this useless fellow, disturbing the kirtan like that. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj noticed, and then he instructed the singer, He says, yes, it is his mistake that he is not attentive or is sleeping during the Kirtan. But still, it doesn't give us the license to take away his service. In no situation. He's doing the mistake, you can correct his mistake. But in no situation, you should take away somebody's service like that. So that was his mood, that devotees all, they do the mistakes, but they should be corrected and allow them to continue the seva like that. About his cooperation, he's talked about one Odia disciple was complaining that he was saying that, all these Bengali devotees are a problem. Somehow he was not just getting along with them. So he went to Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj for some solution. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj told him that, he says, this Odia devotee is complaining about Bengali devotees. So he says, if one Odia tiger comes here, would he eat you or not? He says, the Odia tiger comes here, he will devour me. He says, you should just understand this, that we are all in danger in this material world. Whether you are Odia or Bengali, don't get into that. We are in a great danger. We should always talk about how to come out from this danger, rather than talking about he is not good and she is not good like that. So that was his mood. And then he will encourage the devotees to read the scriptures, but he also told very clearly that scripture should be read only for two reasons. What are the two reasons? One is for self-purification and another is preaching. If reading his scriptures making you a little puffed up, proud, that I know better than him and something like that, then there's no point of reading the scriptures like that. And many pastimes with the brahmacharis, wonderful stories, how strong he was. So, one time, he was traveling in the train, and he was very fond of speaking Krishna Katha. Hours and hours, without getting tired, he would go on speaking the Krishna Katha. So the train journey from Bengal to Puri in those days, it will take a long time. He was giving the lecture for hours. So some brahmacharis were sitting. So one brahmachari, he little laid back like this. After like 2-3 hours of listening, he sat like that. And these kind of things used to make him very upset. So he says, show me your hand. He knew the astrology also, and everybody was like, hey, why he is just asking to show me the hand? And then he told this brahmachari, better you get married. This brahmachari was taken aback, like, why my Guru Maharaj is telling me to, better I get married. So it looks like you need some support, because you are taking support like that. So he very strongly chastised him by saying that better you, get married, you looks like you need some support. And after that, all brahmacharis were like, sitting, no support. So he was like that. Another occasion, when he was giving the class, so we know that usual sight that people just doze off in the class. So one brahmachari was dozing off in the class, and this was happening in the Radhakund temple, Radhakund. So he told other brahmachari, take him and put him into the Radhakund. He's too sleepy, and then let him, get up and then come back. So as soon as this disciple heard, he never got the sleep in his life, in his class. So he was very, very strong like that. He'll speak hours and hours. Very fond of speaking Krishna Katha. One time, he was invited for speaking Krishna Katha. So he went on the train journey, and for many hours he was speaking. So when he reached there, the host said that Swamiji, you should, rest a little bit. You might be tired, and I heard from your disciple that you have been speaking for many hours now. And then he says, what do you mean rest? Krishna Katha is the real rest. I don't need any rest. We'll continue. And then again he started giving the Katha. So very, very enthusiastic about his preaching. In fact, towards the end of his life, when he was not feeling well, the doctor came and doctor said that one of the major factor of your sickness is you speak too much. So much energy. 7 hours, 8 hours is speaking Krishna Katha. So the doctor was suggesting that you should reduce your speaking. He said, what is the point of living then? Without speaking Krishna Katha, what is the use of maintaining this life? And then he told the doctor that you should also speak Krishna Katha. So, you see here, the doctor who came, he became the patient. He said, this is the solution for your thing also. So like that, a very, very special Simha Guru. And then And one place Prabhupada, he was explaining, somebody asked him that despite we hear so much of Krishna Katha, so much of knowledge, but still we see that those bad habits are still there in us. So why all of those kind of anarthas won't go, despite all this hearing and doing all of that? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj explains, it's all because of Hridaya Daurbalyam, weakness of the heart, the lack of determination. So when somebody is very weak in heart to follow the instructions very strictly, then despite hearing and doing that, it might take a little long, you know. And then he asked that how to overcome this Hridaya Daurbalyam. And then he says that only solution is Sadhu Sangha, and more importantly Sadhu Kripa. When the grace comes from the devotees, from the sadhus, Vaishnavas and the spiritual master, then you will develop the strength. It is not by your own endeavor that will be able to overcome all those things. It is by the grace, like that. And many nice pastimes are there, but just to close, I'll just share few of his preaching quotes. He says that preaching must be done with great enthusiasm. And if we don't do that, that person, he uses the word as, in Bengali, says if somebody is not enthusiastic about preaching, then we are simply Sandera Gobar. You are the dung of a bull, useless. Life is useless. Right? As a famous quotation, what is that? Pran aiche jar, se hetu prachar. That if you have the pran in your life, it should be used for preaching the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he mentioned that, he says that every selfless, tender-hearted member of Gaudiya Math should be ready to shed 200 gallons of blood to make one person Krishna conscious. So basically he's emphasizing on that it is not easy to preach, to bring one person to Krishna. One should be ready to shed 200 gallons of blood. That is the kind of amount of hard work is needed. Somebody asked, he mentioned one place that if one person becomes a pure devotee, I'll consider my mission a success. It is very, very rare to make someone as a pure devotee. Somebody was asking Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj that, you are so aggressively trying to preach and you established all this Gaudiya Math and expanding and all of that. But still we see that there's not many people, there's a very few handful of people you can count like that despite all your endeavors and all of that. So what is the point of all this? Then he explained, he answered him, he says that you see the science has been taught everywhere around the world. In all school, colleges, universities, science has been taught, but how many Einstein and Bose has been produced? So just because another Einstein or Bose has not been produced, it doesn't mean that you should stop teaching the science. When the right time will come, another Einstein will come. So our duty is to preach, and then the pure devotee will emerge, like that. So that was his mood. And for preaching, he was facing a lot of oppositions in those days. Especially all these caste Goswamis, they were just against him because he was very revolutionary. So they got upset and he became very famous. So that now our value is going down, so we should do. In fact, there was an attempt to kill him, and there was these people, caste Goswami, they employed and did some setting that they paid the bribe to the police. And they told the police that one crowd will go, they will attack on the temple and they'll kill this person. Police should not do anything. Here is the money for you to shut your mouth. But somehow one of the cops, he was very, maybe respectful to him. He just went and he told him that better you escape from here. There is some conspiracy against you to kill. And that attack happened, and then one of the disciples, he dressed himself as Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj. So they mistook him as Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj and he escaped. So it was not easy for him preaching. And then disciple asked that, Guru Maharaj, we are trying to preach Krishna's message. Why there's so much of opposition? How do we understand? And then he explained with this analogy, very nice analogy. He says, whenever, he talked about this homeopathy. Says, when the homeopathy medicine is given, the first symptom is, in the beginning what happened, the symptoms are increased even more. And later, it is reduced. So, we are seeing all these symptoms are increased, all this opposition is happening. It means medicine is effective. Or preaching is effective. That is why all this opposition is coming. So, we should, despite all these oppositions, we should maintain our enthusiasm and continue our preaching. And he made this prayer. He offered this prayer, which is a very, very strong mood of a preacher. It describes through this prayer. He says that he was praying to the Lord that may next year bring 10 times more obstacles in the preaching. Next year brings 10 times more obstacles in the preaching. And then 100 times more strength to overcome those obstacles, and millions times more enthusiasm to preach. So that should be the mood of a preacher. Despite all the obstacles, he should never think that, okay, this is too much. So that was his mood. Okay. I'll just end with this very nice, very touching story and very, very inspiring and very educating story of one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Guru Maharaj. He was diagnosed with some terrible disease. And then doctor said that within a few days and months, you will die. So this brahmachari, he thought that before I die, I should go and visit my mother last time, because he was the only son. So then he expressed his desire that I want to go home, see my mother. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj says, no, you cannot go. Just be here. He said, no, Guru Maharaj, I'll just go for 1 or 2 days. I'll come back. My mother is all alone. She's old. I'll also die. Then at least I want to see her. He just literally cried and pleaded. But he was very, very strong. He said, no, you cannot go. Just be here. So many of the disciples, they felt like, Guru Maharaj is too strong. He should allow him at least 1 or 2 days. What's the big deal? Simple request only. He didn't allow him. And he was very, very disappointed. This disciple was crying. First of all, he knew that he is going to die. And then on top of that, he was not even allowed to go to see his mother. And then with the passage of time, his health started deteriorating. He becomes almost like anytime he can die. They were waiting. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj called other disciples, told, take him to his mother now. And everybody was like taken aback. He says, now? He can die at any moment. He's not in a condition to even travel now. He said, this is my instruction, you take him to his mother. And then they told this brahmachari that, Guru Maharaj is asking that you should go to see your mother. And this brahmachari very strongly opposed. He said, no, I don't want to go home now. I want to leave my body in the dham. Why should I go home? I can die any moment. I want to live in the temple, in the dham. But then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj insisted, and he posed that take him. Against everybody's desire and the will, he was taken. He was put into the train. They were taking him, and this brahmachari died on the way in the train. So everybody was taken aback, and they were very, very disappointed. In a sense, and they couldn't make out of why Guru Maharaj did this. All this happened, and then one of the disciples asked, then Guru Maharaj, we can't understand, why did you do that? And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj, he said, if I would have allowed him in the first request to go home, he would have gone home, exchanged some feelings and emotions with the mother. He'll come back in the mud carrying those emotions, my mother, and all the time he would be thinking about the mother only at the time of death because of that attachment to the mother. But now, when I sent him, he didn't want to go. He was thinking, oh no, I want to be in the dham, I want to be in the dham. So while he was going in the train, his consciousness was, he was thinking about the dham, about the temple, and with that consciousness he left the body. So this is the kind of the vision, and that is why we say the Vaishnava Kriya Mudra Mujhe na Bhigaye. One cannot understand externally like why a Vaishnava does what he does. There is always a very deeper meaning to all of those things. So like that, very beautiful pastimes, very, very inspiring. And then many more things to say, but just to close, on 31st of December 1936, he disappeared from this mortal world in quite a young age. He was not very old though, so he left. Okay, so on this very auspicious occasion of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Maharaj's appearance day, let us all sincerely pray, bow down to his lotus feet. Pray that if we can get just a little drop of that enthusiasm that he is talking about, the sincere desire to serve Srila Prabhupada, our life will be successful. And the greatest contribution that he gave to the world is our own Prabhupada. So we are very blessed and fortunate under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. So this is our prayer, that we become more and more sincere, more and more fixed up in whatever we are doing, our services or sadhana, by the blessings and by the grace. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nidai Gaur Premanande Hari